Hey guys, how you doing? Okay, my light seems to be stable enough. My name's Phil Kearney. Hey, what's going on, guys? We're gonna do some 5th edition game design today. We are converting the 2024 Bastion system into a more Dominion style of play that is similar to a BECMI style or 1st edition D&D source of adventure and reason to adventure, and to hinge your campaign around the development of the organization, kingdom, or in this case with 5e Bastion, that we are that your team has control over. So give me a second here to see if I'm coming through okay. That your team has control over. That sounds pretty rich. So I think we can keep that. Let me take a moment here to grab some do some social posting real fast, just to announce that I'm up and active so we can see if folks want to hang out today. If you're catching this in the future and you already know the score, you can skip ahead like a minute. Otherwise, I will take a moment here just to go through an intro and explanation of who I am so you can have a better idea of what it is that we're doing and why for the next 3-ish hours. So my name is Phil Kearney. Hey, I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. I love Dungeons & Dragons. I've been a DM since 1987, using a mix of both the Red Box and 1st edition Dungeons & Dragons, because my folks bought me a bunch of D&D stuff for my 12th birthday, because I was a big fan of the D&D cartoon. So they thought, well, this is a game you can play that's like that cartoon, so have fun. And boy, I have been having fun for nearly 40 years since. So yeah, thanks Mom and Dad. Fun game, very fun game. I like it. So I've played every edition from box set up till present. I love 5th edition. It is the best game engine of anything that I've encountered so far. And so it's very, you can deconstruct it, you can rebuild it, you can tack things on, you can drop things off, and the engine remains. It still purrs. You're just either lightening its burden with like less action economy or less subsystems, or you're tacking on subsystems to make the engine work harder, or faster, or to become more maneuverable in how you're narrating your stories. But basically roll a d20 and add numbers to it to get a result is such a simple game engine. The d20 engine is so simple. And then 5e on top of that, of breaking down action economy between the combat gear, the exploration gear, and then the interaction gear. Those 3 pillars are like different, like like social interaction is like being in park. It doesn't require the game engine to literally do anything, because all you're doing is talking to yourself and other players and the DM. You're talking to yourselves. You're putting in a drive that is that's exploration, which is primarily just ability checks. You have a question about something, there's a variable of what that could be, or whether you'll cause trouble as a result of exploring that idea. You make the die roll, and you either get a high number or a low number, and that either means good or bad things happen. And you can procedurally generate your way through an entire 20-level campaign just by answering yes/no questions with ability checks if you wish. But then there is 4-wheel drive, which is combat, where you slow down things into slices of time, where you have actions, bonus actions, reactions, object interactions, and movements that you can perform every 6 seconds. It's a very thin slicing of time and space and effects. A large amount of the game engine goes into combat, because there are literally so many moving pieces. You need an engine to be able to move it all together smoothly, which is what the 5e game engine is really good at doing. The Bastion system that we're developing here shifts back from combat, and where the Bastion system in the D&D 2024, the gear that it's in park, which is it doesn't require any game engine at all for you to be able to make Bastions work. Time passes, you say, give me a potion. you get a potion. Give me magic armor. Time passes, you get magic armor. You just automatically get, I want magical horses. Time passes, you get magic horses. When my character gains levels, my Bastion becomes more powerful and I get more things that I can just get. So it basically allows me to generate mechanical effects, benefits, items, and spells for my characters without necessarily having to go out and adventure to get them. So these become resources that the team can rely upon getting, and there's no there's no risk reward or decision making really that goes into it other than what potion do I want this week. And the DMG provides samples of like different things that you can get, but it's no way exhaustive. It just gives you a frame of reference without actually telling you what that frame is. Of course, it's 5e. If 5e 2024 DMG has a problem, is that it makes suggestions but doesn't offer a lot of how to. Like in 2014, there was like how to, like building random tables, how to build them. There was monsters exist. Here's how to build them. A lot of that stuff has dropped away for, I guess, a larger font. So cheers. I sound like I'm sliding 2024, but I am, because I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Masters guides at this point. There's Beck Me, which is the basic box set, expert box set, companion box set, master box set, immortal box set. Each one of those has their own Dungeon Masters guide, or section in the case of Moldave. There was first edition, there was second edition, there was skills and powers and spells and magic for second edition, and then there was third edition, and then there was 3.5 edition, and then there was fourth edition, and then there was fifth edition, and now we have fifth edition 2024. So 13 different Dungeon Master guides that I've read over the course of the past 30 years, and I would say the first edition, the fourth edition, first and fourth edition are probably the absolute best of them all. Third edition was excellent because they would break down different topics in the DMG and then blow those out to be complete books, which is kind of my design philosophy, because I fell in love with design in third edition. So hold on here. I need to flip my screens around here so we have a space to interact with. Here we go. Hey guys. If you're on the next Twitter platform, I'm at Phil Kearney. I post illustrations, early look-sees, coupons, and let you know when I'm live. Obviously here on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for more subscribers. Thanks a lot, guys. More subscribers. You guys are wonderful. I really appreciate that people are taking an interest in this slow cook design process that we have. But here's a slew of books that I've created already. And let's see, the playtest document. So we're designing Bastion campaigns, and here is the playtest document. For you, it's going to be read only, but you can read the entire thing. It's only 10 pages right now. But if you've seen like the Spelljammer subclasses, the Mecha Kaiju book, and the Martial Powers book, and the Spell Point Sorcerers book, all these things start as a Google Doc that I make available for you guys to look at and play test with. And then once I like how the rules work, we send it off to an editor to do text cleanup, and we start doing layouts and stuff, and then we withdraw the free we then pull the free the read along, the Google Doc, because it's no longer relevant. Once it gets edited, we drop it, and then once it goes live, then it'll also have a free preview. So like for example, what's something we built? We did all the artwork. I did some of the construction of the Spelljammer book on stream, and we did a shitload of art on stream. And so when we and that was all available for folks to read online as well. You can go check out the Spelljammer production playlist, early episodes. And now you can see all 107 pages of the book are available for preview. And of course, if you buy it, you get like 130 assets, like all the map tokens and creature tokens and all the stuff that you need to run Lattice Araxis and to build your own campaigns and like asteroid dungeons and stuff like that. It's all in here for you to check out. But this is kind of a proof of concept that I go through, I build a book, We illustrate it online, and then once it's done, we publish on DMsGuild. And chances are, if you're watching the channel long enough, maybe you'll grab it, but you don't have to buy it if you don't want to. You can support me by buying the books. You can support me by following me on Patreon for $1. You can like and subscribe and share the stuff that I do here. Anything that you're interested in doing that you want to help me out with is, well, God bless you. So the more support I have, the more I can actually do this stuff. So if the dream someday is to retire from my day job and have a humble life of designing games with y'all here. So I can run, if I can do this as my day job, that means that my weekends and my nights are freed, to have a little bit more time with friends and family, but I can also run more games, both in person and online. So we'll have more playtesting, we'll have more hangouts, and I'll have a lot more designs time on stream if I can ever get to a point to where I'm full-time, or if I get to retirement before then. God's willing, if I can still move, I can still be designing. So I've been doing this for 30 years. I'll probably do it for another 30 years, assuming God lets me live that long. So I'm guesstimating I'm at about the halfway mark. No, 40 years, 37, 38 years. Jesus, 38 years, yeah. 40 years, I'm 50. That'd take me to 90. I probably don't have that much time to design, but who knows? Maybe the nanobots will save me. So Bastions, the idea here, the old school D&D style, here's the progression for your character. You started off as a nobody pig sticker. You would go into dungeons, you'd fight horrible monsters, you'd extract amazing wealth. You would distribute that wealth into your community to become a local hero by enriching your community, and you had to throw the gold away for you to gain experience points. So the game reinforced that you would fetch resources and give them to your community so your community can become stronger. After you do that for God knows how many levels, typically 4 to 9 levels, that's how many God knows. But assuming we go back, Oriental Adventures from first edition, they gave you Bastion as early as 4th level. But in Beckme and the Expert box set, you didn't get until 9th level. And then Companion series and the Master series went from getting a stronghold, or a bastion in this instance, and then through Companion building an army and waging battle, and then in Master becoming basically emperor of the world, and then ascending, and then working with extra dimensional threats or other planar threats, whatever it is that you're dealing with. But you have a massive empire underneath you at this point to be able to move heaven and earth. And then in Beckme, the Immortal set, once you hit the cap on being emperor of the world, you ascend into God status and start fighting gods that control different forms of reality that are competing for psychic space with you in the devotion god spheres. Fun stuff. I could deep dive with that you guys someday if you want. Let me know if you're interested in that stuff, and I can talk about it longer. But so the old school style and first edition, it was assumed that you would gain a stronghold at some. You loot treasure to gain notoriety and to basically start payrolling control of a bastion. Once you get the bastion, that becomes your territory, like your sector of land in a hex crawl style. Presumably, you would go out, you would hex crawl a location that you would want to put your fortress or your trade house, your trade shop, or your abbey, or whatever it is. You would scout a location using hex crawl. Once you found the place that you wanted, you would then start throwing down gold to fund creation of the structures that are going to occupy that space. And once those structures are done, you have hirelings come in and start working the property with you. And that becomes a point of control. And then you expand out from there in like hex crawl style to be able to take control of more and more space around you. And at some point, you basically either overpower or break away from whatever kingdom it was that your characters were associated with to form your own thing. And then you continue to expand your power and dictating your will through your characters into the campaign world. So you gain this massive emotional investment in the world around you because you're building it with the DM at that point. So that hint that the 5e24 book gives, that like Bastion allows players to co-op DMing with the DM in the campaign world. That's actually almost like a tagline from an earlier edition that they brought forward to 5e24, but didn't actually provide any of the procedural mechanics of going into that space and starting to create that space inside the campaign that actually is yours as a player, that you can dictate what's happening there, that you actually do end up co-DMing. And here's the fun thing. If you develop out this Bastion, like you've got your 17th level characters and you're developing out a region in like say the Mournland in Eberron, you're from Brayland, you want to try to reestablish additional land. The Mournland is no man's land right now. It's free property. If someone can go in and tame it, then you can start building. You can expand the borders of whatever nation is poking into the Mournlands that way. So you could have a Bastion campaign where you basically build an outpost on the edge of the Mournland, and then all of your hex crawlers to go in and stabilize the land into the Mournland, and once you do, you expand your territory, and you can pull more resources from Brayland through your facility into the Mournland to try to potentially develop that as a place that people can start living again. Maybe you discover unusual magical properties there that actually facilitate you farming, for instance. Maybe just plants grow unnaturally fast there, or they create unusual magical properties that now become just immediately marketable for you to be able to gather more resources with, so you don't have to, you could grow the magic poppies and you can swap that for gold and food and resources. So there, you can develop all that with your Bastion system. That's like just one of a billion ideas. But then, okay, so we were talking about co-oping DMing, right? So say that's what you're doing, and you develop that land, and at some point you've built this region. You're like poking 20, 30 miles into the Mournland, and then you, as the player that's developed this, you flip the switch. It's like, hey, I want to run a campaign where people are using my Bastion as their safe house hub, and then expanding further. So if you guys want to do a Mournland campaign, I will DM that Mournland campaign. We'll use the Bastion that I built as your hub to start your first level characters with, and the entire campaign will be about going into exploring the Mournland, interacting with different factions that are inside of it or trying to enter that space, and also trying to combat the growth of your own Bastion. Like if you start to take responsibility of the Bastion that I built, you can take responsibility of it with me by developing your characters and expanding that. If that's interesting to you, I'm happy to run that game. Like that's a conversation you can have. You could do that in a forest, or like a floating fortress on the edge of the abyss, whatever. You can do that anywhere, but a player can develop a region, and if they geek out on it enough, then they can become the DM to use that as the hub point for a new campaign to start. So that's what really is meant by players can co-op and share DM responsibilities. But it's like those are the lessons from the first edition and from the Beckby box set that aren't being taught to 5e participants, which is a fucking shame, because it trains players to think like DMs, so you can start thinking about, hey, how can I make this story work? How can I make this adventure more fun? If I were thinking about this from a DM's perspective, what's kind of the cool stuff that I might be wanting my characters to do to interact with the game? And the more you start jiving with that, the more you can just naturally become a DM yourself. So you really need to kind of play to become a DM. And it helps. If you have a good DM that helps guide through players to be able to do stuff, then the players pick up the habits of the DM that they run with, and they, to an extent, use that as their base template, and then riff off of that with their own interests and in their own style of narration. But we need to have a process of being able to train people through that to get them into that frame of mind. And I think if 5e has a weakness, it's that it's too player focused, and it neglects and backburns all these ideas of how the DM is how the DM has fun. Like, how does the DM have fun? Players have fun because they're playing the game, they're responding to this stuff, but how do the DMs have fun? The DMs have fun aside from being surprised and thrilled by the solutions that the players come up with at the table. It's actually creating those challenges in the first place. So the more fun you can have in building out mechanics and processes that will allow you to think less during the game, That's what prep is for. Prep is there so that when the game starts, you don't have to think about it. You already have answers or ways of producing answers that are fun, that don't interrupt the game flow. So the worst thing that you can do as a DM is not know what to do next, like to be at a loss. And it can be, you can be surprised, but if you know enough about what's going on inside the game and the motives of the different NPCs that the characters can interact with and general threats that are in the area, you can chain those things together to be able to come up with, well, if this is the direction that they want to go in, it's not what I expected them to do, but I have an idea of what's going on in the region. So as they go that way, I can start hitting them with different pieces and information about stuff that's happening in the region in general. And then if that's something they want to pursue, then that's what I'll prepare next week, and we'll dive deeper into that. So this is just like really basic Dungeon Master narrative element ideas that any DM will pick up in time if they spend any time in the craft of running a game. So that's a lot of conversation about like, where is this coming from? Why am I exploring the idea of Bastion campaigns? Because like I've just been explaining here, the opportunity to have a Bastion is the engine. It's the motivation, the drive that makes the campaign go. It's the heroics and the acknowledgement of advancement in the world that your characters attain over time by proving themselves being worthy of wielding that amount of responsibility and power. So the Bastion campaigns that we're building here is designed to integrate that idea of risks and rewards in kingdom building and controlling organizations. But we were talking about the 3 gears in the beginning of the 4-wheel drive, in drive, and in park. As it stands right now, 5e2 Bastion system is a in park. We are shifting gears so that we're in drive. Like we said, the interaction pillar, that's in park. The exploration pillar, that's as though being in drive. And then combat is 4-wheel drive, where all cylinders are burning and every wheel is adding torque to get over the challenge that is the hill. In the exploration pillar, it's just ability checks. You're just yes or no answers that are derived from rolling different types of ability checks with different skills feathered into it to be able to create variables to hit target numbers. And if you hit the target number, you proceed good. If you fail the target number, you proceed bad. So good meaning that you make progress and you gain things, bad meaning that you're challenged and hit obstacles that you have to overcome to get back to base to then move forward again to have gains or losses. So that's, and then again, combat is action economy, structured initiative and rounds of combat, people taking turns in order, resource draining. All those are all really deep 4-wheel drive mechanics that are in the combat pillar. So we're going to take resource management out of the combat pillar and we're going to inject it into the drive of the ability of the exploration pillar. So Bastion campaigns approaches the campaign from your Bastion essentially being able to make ability checks. So we're using the structure from 5e24's orders, the order mechanics that they have of craft, empower, harvest, maintain, recruit, research, and trade. These are the 7 different orders or skills basically that your Bastion performs. In the 5e24 mechanics, this is in the interaction pillar. It's that you just say, "Hey, I'm going to have my Bastion craft some armor." Okay, great. You craft armor. Congratulations. It'll be ready for you next turn. And if your turn is like 7 days, then you come back in 7 days and you have armor. Congratulations. Go burn some downtime, or go have some adventures or stuff. And when the 7 days are over, your stuff will be ready to pick up. You come back and you grab it, and then you go back out with your new armor. Kudos. And you can do that with literally anything in the game. Mundane items like armor, weapons, equipment, magic items, vehicles. It's all of it. You spells, learning new spells like through research and stuff. You can generate any of that stuff with the Bastion system. You just put in the order. If you're a high enough level to execute the command, you put in the order and it's automatically fulfilled after X amount of time. So you go out and you do your thing. When you come back, the Bastion is cooked whatever it is that you want. The easy bake oven pings, and you go collect your stuff, and then you continue on. That's basically the Bastion system, an easy bake oven. Is easy bake oven Hasbro? Hold on. Hasbro easy bake oven. Hasbro easy bake oven. Yep. Hold on, let's zoom in here. Let's look for the logo. Hasbro, there it is, down in the corner. Yep, Hasbro product. Okay, so Bastions is the easy bake oven of Dominion. I often call it Dominion style of play. That's a BECME term, where Dominion is basically your Bastion and all the surrounding land and all the stuff that you can do with it. So yeah, Bastions is the easy bake oven version of Bastion. That would be such an awesome thumbnail. If I were to do like maybe a 10-minute video explaining the differences between current gameplay and past versions of it, I would probably have an easy bake oven with Bastions written on it instead of yeah. I don't do a lot of prepared videos, but if I would, I'll probably do that for the back. I did a series of actual videos. Hold on, I'll show you. Just a tangent. If you click on my stuff here, and you go to playlist. No, let's go to videos. If you just click on videos, most of the videos that you see in here are Spelljammer related. Because when we created the Spelljammer book, I then created a series of videos describing the different combat and exploration mechanics that we developed for the game. And those are all here. But this is pretty much the only organized stuff that I've ever actually done. Like, most of it's just Spelljammer stuff. I don't do a lot of organized videos. Almost all the stuff that I do is just live stream like this, and I'm not good about peeling elements out of it. I need to, maybe in 2025 I can figure out how to do this stuff good, but who knows? Let's get back to this. And okay, great. The Bastion book itself. The Command Armies and Guilds was the original source for where the Spelljammer book came from, and where these Bastion mechanics are. Big shout out to Ukulele Bard for helping me figure out like how to math out the command mechanics and the damage scaling from 5 foot to 500 foot scale. That was a lot of work with Ukulele Bard, and it totally killed. Adam Hancock was my editor for the in command of our armies, guilds, and kingdoms, or squads and armies here. He created the Baldron's Guide to Kingdom Building, which is what the original inspiration for the resource system for the guilds and kingdoms, which is now becoming Bastions for D&D 5e. So we didn't know about Bastions when we started creating the Army Guilds and Kingdoms system 2 years ago. But while we were going through the army aspect of it, and then started on the Spelljammer book. While we were building Spelljammer, they announced 5e24, and then we found out about Bastions, and then the Spelljammer book published. So step back, let's reevaluate what we're doing with Guilds and Kingdoms as a system. How can we take that and then boil it down to the Bastion, to mirror the Bastions that Wizards is producing for 5e24, because that's going to be your base frame for all these new players that are coming in. Bastions now becomes the default frame from which they then evaluate any other Dominion or command style of play moving forward. And like I was saying earlier, I don't think there's sufficient education going into that aspect of play to make Bastion become more than what it's been presented as. So we take the resources from the combat mechanics and we insert it into the ability check system of exploration to create the Bastion campaign system. So when you want to perform a task, like I was saying, in the interaction state that the Bastions is currently presented, you ask for armor, you go away. When you come back, armor is done. By making it an exploration pillar of adventure, you have resources that you invest into that as a task. Like, you only have so many resources, which means you can only do so many things at once. When you run out of resources, you're now at capacity. You're doing everything that you can do. So if you want to do more things At the same time, you need to have more resources injected into your Bastion. The amount of resources that you have, and resources are basically like experience points or renown or treasure that you're accumulating. And so like there's a gold piece value associated with each resource at different ranks, 1 through 5, corresponds basically with half casting. You can gain ranks in a Bastion without gaining ranks as a character, or using the 5e24 idea about renown, your Bastion can automatically gain can gain ranks as your characters gain levels with it. If you're having a Bastion campaign where you're starting with a stronghold and using that as your base of operation, you start with first rank, and you basically have one rank. One resource that you can spend to perform one task at a time until you gather more resources. And at low levels, you're like, what am I going to do with gold? Okay, well, each resource at low levels is 100 gold a piece. And at, like, say, third level, a character is expected to have about 250 gold worth of stuff. So if you wanted to get rid of some of that stuff, you'd be able to scrape coin together to purchase more resources for your guild, for your Bastion. And once you get to 3 points, you now have to spend 1,000 gold to get the 4th point. But as soon as you do, it's a second rank facility. So you now have a second rank Bastion, and you spend 1,000 gold a piece for each resource. And once you get to 8, then when you get your 9th, you can ascend to 3rd rank Bastion, and that 9th level, that 9th resource is going to cost you 10,000 gold. So you can see everything's ratcheting up in scales of 10. So 100 gold, 1,000 gold, 10,000 gold, 100,000 gold, literally 1 million gold. So, and you can invest resources to generate a new resource, like as an investment, or like I'm putting a labor force to work to build this new grain silo. It'll take them 2 weeks to build it, but at the end of that time, if they built it correctly, I now have an additional point of resources represented by this silo. Or I'm going to spend 2 months negotiating with these sages, and at the end of that block of time, I can now hire and import sages into my Bastion to be able to perform research for me. I can represent that as gaining, that represents me gaining resources. So there, and when we build out the book, we'll have a lot of examples of like how you can portray resources depending on what kind of a Bastion do you want. Do you want a trade guild? Do you want a crafting shop? Do you want an information network, or like a thieves den, an assassins guild? Do you want a mercenaries guild? Is it a church? Are you creating a farming community? You can frame a Bastion, can be any of these things. It could just be a loose network of chess enthusiasts. Your Bastion is the chess, the interdimensional chess league, and you don't actually have any physical presence. It's just card-carrying members of the interdimensional chess league. So when you bump into a chessman, you can share credentials with each other, and then whoever has the higher rank in that organization, that's the level of Bastion you have access to in that town at that moment. And if you want to have access to other resources, maybe you have to go to another location where there's another chess tournament being held, for instance. So there's a lot of different ways you can frame the structure of how your Bastion works. And it doesn't have to be you have a 20 by 20 room and you can put mushrooms in it. Now you can brew poison. Like it can be that way, but that mushroom house could be somewhere in Carcery, and your stables could be in Isgard, and your smithy could be in Limbo. So you could have an interdimensional Bastion that's broken up to these different areas that you have to actually travel to different places in reality to be able to access the things that they do at that facility. But they're all part of your nebulous Bastion idea. These are all safe houses that can provide materials to you because you're an interdimensional spy or something like that. So you need safe houses. Like you can structure your Bastion that way. The idea is that the team has one Bastion to start with, and then you can invest in having additional Bastions, franchising at different locations, all of which are accumulating their own resources as well. So your team can either deep dive into resource management, or you can leave it very surface level of, we're just using this as a plot hook generator. So we'll provide information about setting up Bastions, portraying them, where resources come from, and how are they invested. And these are all ability checks when you're using these abilities. So there's success and failure. If you succeed at the task, you get the thing that you wanted, or you accomplish the task that you had wanted to do. The order you issued was successful. Or you fail at the order and you create a complication. So this is where the campaign comes from. As you issue orders to your Bastion to perform, to execute these different orders, if they fail, they've run into a complication that's preventing them from succeeding the task on their own. And it becomes a complication because, I mean, if you're trying to scout a forest and you send scouts out there to gather intel for you so you don't have to go do it yourself, you recruit scouts out of your Bastion to go perform that task for you. If there's just casual goblins in there that are within rank that these guys can, like as a CR that your Bastion can resolve, then that doesn't slow you down. But like let's say there's a clan of hill giants that have moved into the area that you want to scout, and that is beyond the capability of like your first rank scouts. So like, yeah, there's giants in there, and we can't move any further until they get cleared out. That then becomes an adventure hook for your characters to then go in and clear out the hill giants. And once they get cleared out, you gain whatever piece of information it is that you needed from that. Like, you get the information that you need. So by performing the adventure, you succeed at the task that was complicated. That ran into complications. So your adventure itself resolves the complication, which then allows the task to succeed. So you go through the adventure. At the end of that, you automatically succeed at the task because you cleared the thing that prevented you from succeeding, because it was an ability check. If you had rolled high, the task would have succeeded without problem. Yeah. There was some hill giants, but they were clearing out of the area. Not a big thing. By the way, there's hill giants in the area, but they didn't stop us. They weren't a problem. Or I rolled low. Yeah, boss, we want to proceed, but these hill giants are dangerous, and they are not giving us any quarter. So we need help to back them off. That becomes your adventure, and once you clear out the giants, you automatically succeed at the task. The task was, let's explore this area and scout it out to find out what's there. Well, we found giants. Obviously, that's a threat. So you clear that out, and now you have all the information about the scouting that you need, and you can assign a new task to replace that. So again, the chance of success and failure in the exploration pillar of adventure, the drive, the gear of drive in the 5e game engine, creates opportunities for you to shift gears out of exploration into combat, like fighting hill giants, for example, or shift gears into interaction where maybe you don't have a hostile confrontation with the giants. Instead, you have a negotiation. Maybe there's a way you can recruit them using a recruiting. If your Bastion is equipped to recruit, if your players are able to get the giants on your side and your Bastion's good at recruiting, these giants can now operate or be a wing or an arm of your Bastion, and you've upgraded your combat presence and your just passive presence in the forest to control those as resources through the giants. If you don't have recruiting, then it's going to get complicated. You're going to have complications having those giants trying to interact with your Bastion because your Bastion isn't properly equipped to handle them. So you want to invest resources to gain experience with recruiting. So as you gain ranks, you become proficient in these 7 different orders treated as skills. You automatically have proficiency in maintaining, which is how you it's how you maintain your lifestyle and manage resources. It's just the act of maintaining. It's its own proficiency. So the other six orders that you can issue, you become proficient with. There's 5 ranks. You gain proficiency in 1 order beyond. You get maintained for free plus. So like a number of orders 2. You automatically get maintained, and then you get to choose another order that you're proficient with. And as you gain levels, you automatically become proficient in more orders, or you can spend resources or consider a resource to be like a spell point pool or a mana pool if you're a color enthusiast. So you have your pool of resources, and then you invest. You either spend those points, you expend the points to like cast spells or issue orders. Like, I want more armor. I need armor. So you're going to invest or expend a number of resources to create that armor. And while you do, you're basically maintaining concentration on the order to create armor. And once the armor is completed, you drop concentration from that order, and those resources automatically come back to your pool because you're no longer holding them as an investment in the order that you're performing. So they get cashed out, you get them back into your pool, and then you can reuse those. You can start using those resources again for something else. So you have this rotation, whereas as long as you have a pool, some things that you do are going to be, I'm going to spend the points and I get the thing. Other resources are going to be, I'm going to use these points, and while I have these points locked, I have access to these other options. Like we have the orders of like where you're performing these ability checks, but you can also just tie up your points to create. Here is facilities. So facilities are like buff effects, like buff spells, like haste or long strider or foresight. These are spells that buff your character's abilities to basically make ability checks or movement or perform actions. But once you have them on, they stay on until you lose concentration, like haste, for instance. So facilities are like that concentration spell effect that while you have the points invested in these different facilities, these facilities can just automatically provide these benefits to you. So like a demi-plane is a 5th rank, so you would have to basically invest 5. You basically take 5 points and you permanently insert them to maintain this demi-plane. And while you have a demi-plane active, you can reduce one crafting order from, divide the time taken by 10. Harvesting orders is basically going to be the same. If you're performing research, because of the time dilation that the dimensional plane gives you, it doesn't reduce the amount of time it takes to research it, but instead it makes it easier to research because you have more time to cross-reference resources. You can't do that faster by adding more people. You need to have the same amount of people spend more time so they can gather that information together and correlate it so they have a more clear image. You can't have, here's the problem with governments trying to, like the US government specifically, trying to deconstruct alien technology. It's because it's siloed. I think they call it stovepiping, where like I'll give you this element that we found on this alien craft, and you need to experiment on this element. Meanwhile, we have people you don't even know about who don't know about you working on the propulsion engine that uses that element. If maybe the people that were working on the element that fuels the engine and the people that were working on how the engine works, maybe if they got into a conversation about how this element is affected by use in this engine, you'd be able to move along faster in being able to reproduce that element and implement them in your engines. But they refuse to do it because if I don't know how to produce the element, I can't make the engine go. If all I have is an element, I don't know how to use it, I can't take that information and give it to somebody else and take advantage. They call that, I believe, it's stove piping. So you have a stove and you pipe all the heat out a single tube, so you get an export of steam or knowledge that is in a very specific literal silo, and they're separated from each other. So if you add more pipes, if you add more groups that are stovepiping information, you don't gain technology faster that way. So throwing more people into silos doesn't create an end result better. What you have to do is be able to get somebody that can connect the dots between the element and the engine to make the engine go and to be able to provide more fuel to keep it going. That requires collaboration. So you need the same people spending more time to be able to create the result. So speeding up the process doesn't resolve that for you. You just need more people spending more time to get more intimately aware of how these things can work to get to the conclusion that you need. That's the difference between speeding up crafting in a time dilation and instead with research, reducing the difficulty of the task among the people that are doing it. So it's a different way of narrating it. So I think, I mean, you can fight me over that if you want, but we're just talking about narrative elements and how to make the demi-plane excuse me, I had to make the demi-plane not be just a one-trick horse of just speeding everything up by a factor of 10, which is amazing unto itself. Choose one benefit. Reduce one crafting order. Let's see. Let's do this. Expand the yield of a harvest order by 10. Reduce one crafting order. Reduce the time to craft an item by 10. Expand the yield of a harvest order by 10, or reduce the DC of a task by 5. Because the structure, it's, you have like that 10, 20, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, that scaling up in ranks. And you can see how the DC scales up as well. First rank tasks only require DC 10. Fifth rank tasks require DC 30. 17th level characters, which is about the level of firepower that a 5th rank Bastion has in ability checks, it's equivalent to a 17th level character. You can perform tasks and hit DC 30 on your die rolls. It's difficult, but it can be done. And you have extra dice that you can toss in to hit the numbers easier the higher level you get. Super advantage. Not really, but that's kind of the idea. So right now, that's walking us through everything. You invest the resources. A second rank task requires 2 resources. You can generally perform a number of tasks simultaneously, equal to the amount of orders that you have. So the amount of orders that you can perform and the amount of orders that you're proficient with are both equal. 2 at first, 6 at fifth. Oh yeah, and you can invest resources to get extra skills. So like at first level, you'd only have proficiency in 2 orders, but I could invest a point of resources to have access to a 3rd order that I would have proficiency with. And when I gain second rank, I could have just those be my 3 orders. I no longer have to pay for one. Or when I gain 3rd rank, I could then second rank, I could then pick up. I could spend 2 points and gain a 4th order. And there's only 7 total one you get for free. So at 5th rank, you can do a ton of everything except for one thing. And so if you decide to invest 5 of the 25 plus points that you're going to have access to, you could also pick up that, so you can be proficient in everything. So you can't have a facility unless your Bastion is proficient in the order that dictates that facility, like the demi-plane facility. Demi-plane requires Empower. So unless I'm proficient with the Empower order, then I can't create a demi-plane. So I have Empower, and then if I'm 5th rank, I can invest the 5 points needed to then create the demi-plane to provide these benefits as I need. And I'm going to fix that. There we go. So as you gain more points of resources, you're investing those points in either performing like that scouting check in the forest, for instance. If you're a 2nd rank guild or a 2nd rank Bastion and you want to send scouts out, that scout's going to basically perform the perception, survival, investigation, search checks equivalent to basically a 5th level character. It's going to have a similar ability check. So the threats that your Bastion, the complications that your Bastion creates is going to be equal to the effective level of the task that they're performing. Like you could be a 5th rank Bastion, but only issue a 2nd rank order for a scouting team to go out and check out the forest. I don't need a 5th rank scouting team to go check out the forest. I can just send out some guys that are decent at hanging out in the woods. I could probably get away with a 1st rank team, but if I really just want to be thorough with experts, like real specialists, then I'll just upgrade them to 2nd rank. I'll spend 2 points of resources, invest in them for the 2 weeks that they're going to go out there, and when they come back after 2 weeks, I get my 2 points back. And I get the answer. So I get my points back, and I get the whatever the thing is that I was. So then I can take those 2 points and apply them somewhere else. So it's a really fluid system. I've been using this ability check this ability check idea in my own Eberron campaign, my Spelljammer Eberron campaign that I've been running. I've been using it since February. So just to, hold on, I keep pressing buttons here. If you want to see more about that, you can go here into my page. And if we look at my playlist options, I've got, let's see, Martial Power Mechanics, Eberron, Ravnica Rangers, MTG, In Command of Digital Painting, Character Commissions, Color Mechanics, Elemental Key. Where are you at, Turkey? It's a Spelljammer, Eberron Spelljammer thing. There it is. Eberron Adventure Design. No, that's Crystals Mabar. That's my current project. Martial Power Mechanics, Spelljammer Combat Exploration Production, Digital Painting, Spelljammer Combat Exploration Game Mechanics. Oh, here it is, Spelljammer campaign. So here's my Spelljammer campaign development. I've got 18 episodes of me developing these ability tech in a Spelljammer Asteroid Belt campaign. So it's an asteroid belt mining operation, and you can see all the deep dive mechanics that went into developing them as ability checks using this Bastion system. The language that we use is different because it's using the in command, command of guilds and kingdoms mechanics that we had been developing with Adam and Ukulele 2 years ago. It leans into these ideas, but once the Bastion system came out in 5e24, these past 3 months, I've basically been stewing over and converting our guild resource system into the Bastion system, and the Bastion system is far less complex than the guild, like less in-depth, less complications, not complications, those are difficulties, less moving pieces. So we've like simplified the system so that it's not as like the Guilds and Kingdom system that I had developed. It's like the 4-wheel drive combat level of complexity in game design. The Bastion system is that interaction level where there is no game mechanics. So I've split the difference between what's the narrative idea that Bastion's taking as a social interaction pillar and what's some components from the Guilds and Kingdom system that we had been developing, extracting those good bits, inserting them into the interactive nature of the 5e24 Bastions, and that's where we arrive at the Bastion campaigns operating things as ability checks. So we split the difference, and it's turning out to be a really good system, but you can see a real deep dive into how those, like how what the parent of this was with those command spell lists, that playlist. So you can check that out if you're interested. So right now, what we're dealing, when we left off last time, we had gotten to the point where we were reckoning the difference between crafting and harvesting, because in the 5e24 book here, I'm gonna just grab this and pull it out as its own separate tab. Here we go. Okay, so because when we were here last, where we were stuck, we're translating all the facilities in the 5e24, and we're breaking them apart into ability checks to produce or create results for things, and facilities, which is basically kicker effects that let you do anything, or they're like those buff effects that we were talking about. So facilities shouldn't require ability checks. Facilities are the things that just grant you stuff. But you can't get that stuff until you're proficient with the order where those things come from. And the orders are where the ability checks come from for gathering resources, creating stuff, creating new connections. If it's something, it's a different gear. The facilities is just a passive buff or benefit that you get, while issuing orders actually requires ability checks that, if you fail, create complications for adventure hooks for characters to then have the next leg of their adventure be resolve this problem. So a Bastion campaign is you are attempting to achieve goals through your Bastion primarily. You always start from the perspective of the Bastion of this is what we're trying to achieve. And as you are going through your Bastion turns, which I generally put at 10 days, but they could be 100. But the default is every 10 days your Bastion goes through a turn. So things that need to get built and stuff like that, 10 days is resolved, unless it's like a long build, like I'm building a boat. Well, we'll probably need 100 days for that. So you have 1 day, 10 days, 100 days, and 1,000 days are basically the four tiers of time that something may take. And as you gain ranks, you can drop the amount of time it takes. Or as you gain ranks, you get access to more complicated things that take longer to achieve. You can invest additional resources to drop down the amount of time it takes to create something. So like you can make magic items within a realistic time frame for your campaign by investing more resources in your Bastion to make it happen faster, because crafting, you can do that, as opposed to gathering knowledge, which you can't. So that's a real difference. Like you can't speed up magic, but you can speed up creating something with magic, for instance. So where we were stuck was, okay, well, if we can craft things, so there's basically 3 ways you craft. You have Empower, which is infusing things with magic, but there's also crafting, which is making magic items. And then there's harvesting, which is gathering resources and stuff that you can then convert into like poison or potions. Crafting is like armor or weapons or magic items, and Empower is like enchantment effects or casting spells. So you have these 3 different orders that kind of play around each other's resources without, like, if you perform these things, it's just assumed that you have whatever it is that you need to do the thing, unless the DM says you don't, in which case you have to go out MacGuffin and get it as your quest. So like if you have a complication with this, if you have a complication like, say, making a magic sword, the complication could be, yeah, well, we actually need the Eye of a Cockatrice to do this thing. Like, where the fuck am I going to find a cockatrice? That becomes your next adventure. So you could use your Bastion to track down where a cockatrice may be, and then you send in your team to go fetch it. Or maybe you strike up a trade agreement with some exotic merchants that might just happen to have the Eye of a Cockatrice that you could obtain as a resource for you to build your sword. That now becomes a trade issue. So just to peel open an extra document here, just to think about stuff. So we have crafting, we have harvesting, and we have empowering. Empowering does spell stuff. Harvesting does plant, animal stuff. And crafting does making objects. Harvesting in the Bastion system that we have in the player's in the DMG, harvesting is like brewing poison and potions. Let's look at the there's a tavern and there's the, let's see, reliquary, harvest. You commission its hirelings to produce a specialty prepared talisman for you to use. It's an amulet. Reliquary. This vault holds sacred objects. I don't know why they have it as harvest. Let me spend an extra moment here to explore that. Hirelings gather a resource produced in a special, so you're producing resources, and trade is buying and selling goods or services stored or produced in the facility. Buy or sell goods or services stored or produced in this. So trade, harvest is creating resources, while trade is acquiring resources. So down here we have harvest and trade. Is acquire, gain resources from third party. And harvest is gain resources, thank you, Timely Timer, from your Bastion. Outside your Bastion. From within your Bastion is the proper term. From within your Bastion. And then trade is gaining resources from outside your Bastion. Trade is also converting resources into gold because you can buy and sell trade, right? That means gold, right? So trade, gain or sell resources. Harvesting gains resources, but it also produces stuff. Let's keep going through. Let's look at the master list. This is the choke point that we're at right now. So we're sussing through how these different facilities work. Let's see. Harvest is a garden. Harvest is a greenhouse. Harvest is a reliquary. There's only 3 ways to gather. Let's look at these 3 things specifically. The reliquary, the greenhouse, and the garden. I'm also interested in looking at the storehouse real quick. I suspect that's a trade issue. Trade. The storehouse is a cool, dark space meant to contain trade goods, to trade goods, objects, to contain trade goods, objects, to trade. What's the language on that? A storehouse is a cool, dark place meant to contain trade goods. Trade goods is a term from the trade goods table. Objects are from the trade goods table, chapter 7 and 8. Okay, great. So let's go look at trade goods. Interesting. So, when you issue the trade order to this facility, its hirelings spend the next 7 days procuring non-magical items that have a gold value of 500 gold pieces or less, or stores them in the storehouse. And stores them in the storehouse. Or the hirelings uses those 7 days to sell goods in the storehouse. You bear the total cost of any purchase, and the maximum value of the item purchase increases to 2,000 gold pieces when you reach level 9, and 5,000 gold when you reach level 13. When you sell... when you sell goods from your storehouse, the buyer pays you 10% more than the standard price. This profit increases to 20% at 9, and 50% at 13, and 100% at 17. So at 17th level, let's see, at 3,000, the amount you can pull in is 5,000 gold. And then the next turn, like a 10-day cycle, you can pull 5,000 gold into your trade house. And then the next 10 days after that, you can export that 5,000 gold and generate 10,000 gold. So basically, every 2 Bastion turns, you can generate 5,000 gold of either goods or just raw cash. At 17th level, that is... It takes 40,000... You need 40,000 gold to get a very rare magic item. So it would take you 16 cycles of your Bastion to... And assuming it's a 7-day cycle, that's going to be... what is that? 70 plus... Why am I mathing so bad? Plus 42, 70, 112. So it'd be 112 days for you to perform trade enough to get 40,000 gold to purchase a single very rare magic item. So it's 100 days for you to process through to get the wealth that you need to purchase a very rare magic item. So let's compare that to the cost, the time that it takes to produce a very rare magic item. Empower, enchant magic items. Very rare? Look at that shit. Very rare magic item, 100 days. So yeah, we are properly pacing with what you can do. And it would be a legendary magic item is 200,000 gold. So that would take 5 times the amount of time normally to be able to rotate through that purchase and sale process, which would be 400 days or a little bit more than a year. So we could probably do this as like 1 week, 1 season, 1 year. Week, season, year. That is an option worth considering. I like this. I like the scaling of 10 because that's just how I think in general. Scales of 10. If we were to have a week, there's 4 weeks per month. There's 3 months per season, so that would put us at 12. So it would go from 1 to 10, and then by 4. So you have 1 and then 10 and then 4, or we could have 10 and then 100 and then 400. We have God, that math's out pretty smooth. Like in Forgotten Realms, you don't have weeks, you have 10 days. You have 10 days per month, and you have 3 months per season. So you have about 10 days. You have actually 10 days, but you could just round it off to 10 days per season in Forgotten Realms. And then you still have 4 seasons. So like a week in Forgotten Realms is basically 10 days. So it's a little bit different. So if we just call it a week anyway, let's try that. We have weeks, we have days, and we have hours. Let's first start off with that level of simplicity. Duration, day, week, season, year. That seems to be the proper conversion for everything. I like that. Let's see if we can, because we can always go back. You can always go back. So let's see if we can just lock that in as our general language of a day, a week, a season, or a year. See where else we're at. God, I like that. That just feels good. Week, season, year. Make a Bastion check. The potency of healing you brew per week is equal to... That's a complicated roll. I might need to fix that. Empower. Scribe scrolls. Okay. Day. Week. Season. A week's delay. Season. God, I love math. Auction resources. You can sacrifice Bastion resources for gold. You can automatically succeed in 1 day for 10% resource value. As an order, you can auction a number of resources up to your Bastion rank. The time required to auction a resource is determined by the current rank of the Bastion. Season, year. Because like for example, Kroger and Albertsons have been attempting a merger in America. They're 2 very large food supermarkets. They've been attempting a merger for basically the last 2 years, and it's failed. Now Albertsons is suing Kroger for Kroger attempting to merge with Albertsons and failing, depleting the value of the of Albertsons stock. It's kind of crazy. So, but that's a really great example of attempting of time required to perform these tasks. And the DC 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What if I had 7? What if I had 7? 100. Well, hey, Steve, how you doing? What if I did 85 and then 70 and then 55 and then 40 and then 25? Did you see that shit? Holy fuck. Hold on. Let's make sure I didn't math it wrong. 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15. That is amazing. Oh my fucking God. I didn't know math did this. Holy shit. Wow, that's amazing. Oops. There. Okay, because the way that the system scales, right? We were talking about it up front, up here. The way that Bastion checks, the way that you make an ability check, or the way that you attempt an order, is by you roll a d20, and then you add your rank of your Bastion, and then you add a proficiency die. So a 5th rank organization, or a 5th rank Bastion, which is effectively a 17th level character, right? They have a +5 to the d20, and they also roll a d12 on top of it. So the range of the statistical curve of a 5th rank Bastion performing a 5th rank task, or executing a 5th rank, or I'm still working on language. So forgive my instability on what verbs and nouns we're using. But to perform that order, to attempt that order at 5th rank, you would roll a d20 plus 5 plus d12. So the range is 5 plus a 1 on a d20 and a 1 on a 12 is a minimum of 7. And then at the top end, it's 20 plus 5 plus 12 is 37. So the range for a 5th rank organization, a 5th rank Bastion, is 7 to 37. A fourth rank Bastion would have a range of 6, 1 plus 4 plus 1, and then 4d10 is 10, 24. 34. So you have a range of 6 to 34, and then 7 to 37 for 5th. So a range, a statistical range of 5 to 35 is basically the full gamut of ability checks. And then, of course, there's 1. 1 or a 0 is like absolute failure. But this is your range here, and so a fifth rank guild can hit a 35. It's unlikely that they're going to, but we're looking at auctioning off resources in your guild. So you're getting, and again, the guild has gold value based on the rank of your guild, of your Bastion. So here's the price point for each resource. So 100 gold for a 1st rank guild, and a million. And once you've sold off enough resources so that you don't have, like if you have 25 resources as a 5th rank Bastion, it will take you a year for you to auction off 1 point of, you could auction off up to 5 points of resources from your Bastion, and depending on the result of the die roll you get, that's the percent of gold that you get. And the amount of gold, like if you get 20% of a $1 million, that's 200,000. That's 200,000 gold, which is the price that you need to be able to purchase a legendary magic item. So if your characters are operating at 17th level and they're trying to get access to legendary magic items as it is, and they want to buy their way into getting them, you can do that by using the Bastion system, by accumulating the resources, auctioning them off, and then trading them for magic items. But it could literally take you a year, maybe 2 if you don't hit the die roll right off, or if you don't sell off enough resources. But the problem is if you sell off a number of resources, so you now drop down to less than 25, you're now 4th rank, which means each point of resource is now only worth 100,000. So you would have to sell off multiple resources at a 4th rank to get access to that legendary magic item. So you could literally grind your Bastion down to 3rd or even 2nd rank attempting to get access to one legendary magic item. by burning your resources down. Or you could go quest for them instead, make that your next adventure and save your guild. But this is a way that you can do that. Hey, what's up? Well, hey, Third. All about the 5e life. It is. It really. That's the game mechanic that I use. 5e is by far my favorite game engine. I was talking about this at the beginning of the stream. You can check it out if you want. But I've been playing D&D for 38 years. I've been DMing games using box set, first edition, second edition, third edition. I only played in fourth edition. I didn't like it enough to DM it, but I did play a lot of fourth edition Gamma World. WotC produced Gamma World. Fourth edition Gamma World was using the fourth edition game engine, and Gamma World is actually super fucking fun using 4E. It was also awesome using second edition, which was basically first edition D&D rules with a lot of weirdness to it. But the fourth edition game engine for Gamma World feels really, really good because 4E feels kind of more. It was designed to feel like an action RPG, which has more of a science, like a sci-fi sort of bend to it. So the after the bomb weirdness of Gamma World, to me, was a really great flavor fit with what the 4E game engine was. But I never got into DMing. I just ran, I think, for a few months of 4E, and then we got into Pathfinder. So we basically stepped back to third edition, and then we got into Numenera. And then in 2016, that's when I got into, at the end of 2015 is when I started actually playing 5th edition. I let it sit for a little while before I actually started playing it. And I was about halfway through a Numenera campaign. So when that ended, that's when we cracked open the 5e books and got to work. But yeah, so I've spent 40 years basically inside of the D&D game space every edition. And I think 5th edition is the best. It is the lightest, easiest engine with the most ability to add or remove, like the kit bash. 5e is the best system to kit bash because it's so simple, but it allows for so much complexity between those three gears of combat, exploration, and interaction. You have those three gears that you can move the game in, and so you can pick an aspect of the game, choose a gear, and then dive into mechanics using that specific gear as either adding on. Like you could take combat's 4-wheel drive with all the action economy and initiative order and turn sequencing. You could take that combat game engine, that 4-wheel drive, and apply it to social interactions. If you wanted to make a 5e game, dating sim game, you wouldn't have going out on a date be just a social interaction. You would make that combat, where every gesture, every smile, every flirt is a separate action that you're trying to accumulate enough points to gain enough, maybe like interest. Is like you're trying to whittle down, you're not whittling down their hit points, you're building up interest. And so like if this boss fight requires 100 points of interest for you to get the job, then during your interview, you're going to be using your action economy to accumulate enough points of interest where you get the job and you get the handshake. That's a way to take social interaction and make it 4-wheel drive combat mechanics. So you can take any aspect of the game of 5e and apply a different gear of action economy to it and change how your game operates. You can take combat, and if you wanted to make combat like Beckme was, take away the combat game engine of all the action economy and attacks and stuff and make it an ability check system instead. I'm going to get one attack this round. I'm going to make it an ability check. If I succeed the die roll, I deal damage. And then you move along. So it's like a much more stripped down game engine. It's a stripped down engine to be able to run a different phase of game. If you wanted to make exploration, like cracking open a safe, become just an object interaction, then it doesn't require any die roll. You just open the safe. Maybe the challenge is getting to the safe. So the DM can choose at any time how much effort, like action economy, is required to accomplish each goal. So this Bastion system is us taking the social interaction presentation, like 5e24 presents Bastions as a social interaction. There are no resolution mechanics. The original game engine that I had built 2 years ago for Guilds and Kingdoms was using basically combat economy and resources and depth. to create a really in-depth guild and kingdom system. But that's too deep. That was the problem that I was having from Playtest, like Durzazad and other people that were playing with it, were like, this is really complicated. How can we simplify this? So God's will, Bastions came along in 5e2 for DMG, and this presents my game engine as a social interaction. So then it says, well, how can I take this social interaction stuff and strip down my four-wheel drive guild system and just make it that middle road of just being in drive with ability checks? And this is where we're getting to. So that's the process. So blah. Blah. So now we're going through the process of, because now that we've confirmed with the gold value versus magic item costs, we know that the actual duration that we should be operating in is days, weeks, seasons, and years. And depending on how proficient your Bastion is at performing tasks, you can reduce the amount of time it needs to perform tasks, like we were discussing earlier. So right now I'm just feathering through here. That's right, we figured out the math on this. God, that's amazing. That's just amazing that we found that. Just, god damn, what a day. What a day. Here's the cost to maintain your lifestyle. Yeah, this is an action. So your guild has, here, I'll get this all on the same page. Using their hold on, because I don't think there's any rules in 5e2.4. I don't think they have rules about lifestyle. Let me just look up lifestyle. I don't think it exists anymore. I will happily be wrong, but yeah, they're only referencing lifestyle in 2014. Let's go to the player's handbook, because that's where they would have things that you can purchase, and living expenses and shit should be one of them. So let's go down into the equipment section. God, where would it be? Is there any indication of lifestyle? Or there's supposed to be there's healing and long rest. I know that resting is affected, I think affected by the quality of where you're sleeping. So let's look at long rest, because I think that is something that's in here, but I don't think they hard coded it anymore. Benefits of rest, interrupting the rest. I could swear there was, maybe that was 2014 and I'm just not remembering correctly. Let's see. Outdoors, camping. Is camping a button that we can press for information? No. Yeah, okay, so they got rid of lifestyles altogether in 5e2. God, they're just hand waving staying alive. Interesting decision. Interesting. If I'm just missing that, if anyone out there in Chatland knows where in 5e2.4 they talk about maintaining lifestyles or like living expenses and shit, let me know, because I am not finding it. So I'm going to go ahead and let this go for now. But the quality of living that you provide, I mean, we'll just lift from 5e14 and just drop it back into this book to keep reference. But you have to maintain a certain level of quality for your Bastion, otherwise no one's going to want to work for you. Like if I don't ever have a chance of becoming wealthy working for your organization, why the fuck do I want to work for your organization? Or, you know, if I'm content with being comfortable lifestyle, then sure, I could do that. But like, if all you can promise me is poor or squalid lifestyle, I'm eventually going to lose interest in your organization. Let's do this. Hold on. Let's go back to reopen. No, that's not the right one. Let's go back to death saves. Here, a player must make a death saving throw if they start their 0 hit points. Must make a death saving throw, also called a death save, if they start their turn with 0 hit points. See also Chapter 1, Damage and Healing. Background mentioned it. Oh, thank you. Let me go visit backgrounds then in a second. Hold on. Let me check this out real quick. Death saving throws. Hit 0 hit points, you make a death save. If the roll is 10 or higher, you succeed. Otherwise, you fail. Okay, so 10. So we're making maintaining lifestyle a death saving throw. So, and you said backgrounds have it. Thank you. Why isn't backgrounds in the rules glossary? I'll just have to go find it, I guess. Character classes, origins, backgrounds. Thank you. Background descriptions, backgrounds. How much am I going to have to dig through here to find the information about backgrounds or about lifestyle? Worship, mopping the floors, charlatan, criminal. It is not jumping out at me. Is that another special? No, those are species. Parts of a background. No, oh, thank you, nobles. Wow, that's very specific. Thank you very, very much, David, for the direction. Oh my God, David, welcome to the team, man. Nobles. Skill proficiencies, tool proficiencies, equipment. You were raised in a castle. Surrounded by wealth, power, privilege. Your family of minor aristocrats ensured that you received a first-class education, some of which you appreciate and some of which you resented. Your time in the castle, especially the many hours you spent observing your family at court, also taught you a great deal about leadership. Skilled feat, history and persuasion. Choose a kind of gaming set. And choose fine clothes, perfume. Wait. So you're just saying like you're saying from a like this mentions like a noble lifestyle, but it's not like actually there was no actual mechanics that went into that lifestyle. So this, wow, yeah, okay. Well, if this is the best reference we can have, then there are no mechanics around lifestyles anymore. So David, thank you. I appreciate you helping me lock down that. Yeah, it's literally not even a ribbon feature. It's just flavor text, and we all know flavor is free. So let's go back to 2014 real quick, where we started the lifestyle expenses. This is still good stuff, but they decided that it's not important for 2024, which means it's open for any kind of translation that we want now because they aren't considering it actually important to playing the game, which puts it's strictly in homebrew territory. But this is the price per day, or like per 10 day. If you're using Forgotten Realms, a week is 10 days. So it's a 10 day. But the price per day, wretched, literally no money because you're basically eating dirt and grass soup and stuff. Squalid, poor, modest, comfortable, wealthy, aristocratic. So those are your costs per day, or 100 gold pieces per week if you're using the 10-day cycle of Forgotten Realms. Gold, let's just go back to cost. Let's switch it to cost per day. 1 SP, 2 SP, 1 GP, 2 GP, 4 GP, 10 GP. There we go. Here we go. Let's go. Hey, what's up? Cost of meal and 1 night at inn. I don't think I think we got into a point where this is stable enough. I don't think I need to grind down that far specifically, because that's like going out to eat at like I don't know, like a steakhouse, right? You're going out and you're getting a meal, or like you're going to Denny's, or you're going to Shoney's or whatever. You're going out to eat, as opposed to purchasing groceries. Bringing groceries home and cooking your own meal is like 1/10 the cost of what it is to actually go out and eat on a daily basis. Like it's that like people complain, like people diss people that are poor, saying just don't buy lattes because they're like $5 or $6 a pop. It's kind of the same philosophy. The prices for a night of inn that could potentially be okay. I'm going to actually look at that because I want to see. I actually do want to compare that. Damn it. But this is what we're doing. We are doing research. We are grinding through the specifics of the cost of living right now to see if the mechanics that we have for this Bastion system are sufficient to hand wave actual cost of living. So let's assume that staying at an inn and buying a meal from a tavern every night is a comfortable lifestyle. I think that's probably accurate. So let's go find. That was under goods and services. Is that right? Services. Lifestyle expenses. They do exist. Why can I not find this anywhere? 1 silver piece, 2 silver piece, 1 gold, 2 gold, 4 gold, 10 gold. Cool. Why can I not do a search for lifestyle in the fucking book and find it? That's obnoxious. Okay, I'm over it now. But cool, this still exists. I am happy. Yeah, wretched is free. You survive via chance of charity. You're often exposed to natural dangers as a result. You spend the bare minimum for your necessities. You might be exposed to unhealthy conditions and opportunistic crime. You spend frugality. Thank you. That's thank you, David, for guiding me to this, because I keep trying to use the search function. I'm an idiot. I actually try to search for things by using search, and it doesn't fucking work. They spend like what $100 million on this website, and they can't get the search function to work. I am happy to take shots at you, Wizard. Do better. You want this you want us to invest in your online vehicle. But yet the books, if I had the books, I would have to thumb through it and would probably eventually find this just haphazardly by thumbing through the book. By having links that you can search through, you're dumbing down the search options of finding stuff. Just do better. If you're paying attention, do better. Put like 5 guys on this and just build out your game your website so you can actually find stuff. That's the end of my rant. You support yourself at an average level. That's okay. You spend frugally. Sure. You spend moderately for necessities and enjoy a few luxuries. You spend modestly for your necessities and enjoy a few luxuries. You are accustomed to the finer things in life and might have servants, and you pay for the best and might have a staff that supports your lifestyle. Others notice your wealth and might encourage you to share it either legally or otherwise. Okay, great. That's fantastic. So great. That was time well spent confirming that the system is still valid. I appreciate you. Thank you. Let's see. The result of a D20 test determines the lifestyle maintained for the Bastion this turn. If the result is below 10, the Bastion is overextended. If the D20 test fails 3 times before succeeding 3 times, the Bastion loses enough resources to drop to the next lower rank. If the Bastion is currently first rank and it fails, if it loses resources, the Bastion is destroyed, for lack of a better word. But you can always take gold and invest it into your Bastion. So if you were to if you were to fail a Bastion check, and that would cause you to like lose 4 points of resources and drop from like 3rd rank down to 2nd rank, you could spend the 4,000 gold needed to regain those, to maintain those resources. You can spend gold equal to the resources, equal to the cost of resources lost, to instead retain your current rank, and you must do so again each Bastion turn until you succeed a check and resetting. That's a clunky word. If you fail 3 times before you succeed 3 times, you drop in resource. When you do, you can spend gold equal to the cost of resources lost to instead retain your current rank. Doing so resets stabilizes the Bastion. There we go. And now it's not bankrupting. So you then have 3 more checks to make before you start losing resources. Very, very generous death saving throw system. Very, very easy. Hey, congratulations on building your own game. Well done. Is it a role-playing game or is it a board game? Once my trademark goes through, I'll start talking about the role-playing game that I'll be building for Kickstarter in 2026. I'm excited about it, but it's not quite time to talk about it because I'm still waiting for the legal language to come through to make sure it's something that I can just lock down. Creature CR. Where was I at? I'm inside of this. Specialist rank. Up. Oh no, that's where it's at. Specialist rank is first. 2, 3, 4, 5. There. ttrpg. Hey, right on. Well, if you join my Discord, you're welcome to drop a link to it in the self-promotion tab. If you fail by 9 or less, you attract no one. If you fail by 10 or more, the creature attempts to sabotage you instead. That's great. Okay, so we're still going through a conversion process. We're looking for days. Delay is week. Week. Season. Season. Year. Acquire material. You establish a trade relationship with other creatures or organizations that can provide materials and services you need in exchange for those that your Bastion can produce. Make a Bastion check. The result determines the maximum rank of materials you can acquire to issue the craft order. The maximum rank of materials you can acquire needed to issue the craft order. Once trade is established, you can use facilities below to maintain the relationship and have immediate access to the materials used when issuing the craft order. Otherwise, the order is delayed by the amount of time listed for the result above. Week, season, year. You can use your facilities. Otherwise, the order is delayed by the amount of time listed for the rank. That is flawed. That is not accurate. Hold on. Holy Hannah. Hey, congratulations on your copyright. Well done. That's a bulky volume, my guy. Once trade is established, you can use facilities below to maintain relationships and have immediate access to the materials used when issuing the craft order. Otherwise, the order is delayed by an amount of time listed for Once trade is established, you can use facilities below to maintain the relationship and have immediate access to the materials used when issuing the craft order. There it is. Okay. If the D20, if the Bastion check fails, if the Bastion check fails, there's a complication and there's a complication that delays attempting to rolling again for the listed duration, for the listed delay period. Yeah. Okay. So, and we talked about earlier, a complication is a plot hook. So, like, if I'm attempting to acquire materials for a 5th rank task, like making a legendary magic item, I could go out and gather those resources needed to make that magic item myself, or I could have my Bastion perform a trade agreement to get the resources needed on my own. And if I fail that check and it's a 5th rank task, then I can't attempt to find resources sufficient to perform that task for a year. And it's labeled as a complication, which means that the resources might exist. I just didn't get them because something prevented me from getting them. So if I ignore that complication and if I follow that as a plot hook, if I resolve it, I get the materials immediately. The only thing that was holding us up was this robber baron needed this additional territory. And if they get that territory, then they're happy to help. Well, me as an adventurer, I'm either going to eliminate that baron and replace him with somebody who doesn't have that restriction, or if I like that baron, I'm going to go win that territory for them so that it resolves the complication that prevented them from giving me the resources that I wanted. If I don't want to fuck around with that stuff at all and I got more important things to do, then I will automatically get those resources as I had wanted after the complication resolves, but it's going to take a year. Which means, hey, that robber baron, he's willing to help you, but he can't do it until he gets this territory. A year later, he now has that territory, so he's now happy to fulfill with that task. You get your resources back because you failed the task, but you can try again. So then you approach him again. It's like, hey, I hear you have that territory now. Do you want to do this trade thing? He's like, yeah, I'd love to. And then you fail your die roll. It's like, wait a second. I now have this additional complication. And you can then either use that as a plot hook to resolve whatever that challenge is to free up the line, or you can again decide it's not important and delay it a whole nother year. So that is resource management. So right now, one of the things we had started off with was helping define the differences between the different resources. What we had identified was that there are 4 types of resources, basically. And so let's go find where we were talking about that. Let's get away from settlements. We're gonna push that down the page for a little while, so we don't have to deal with it yet. Trade, research. There we go. That was good. That was what I was looking for. Recruit, standing army, the amount of soldiers you can have per rank. And you can double down on this. Like at 5th rank, if you invest 5 points, you can have a standing army of 25,000 mercenaries. If I invested 10 points, I could have 50,000. If I invested 20 points, I could have 100,000. But I only need 25 resources to get the 5th rank in the first place. So if I'm going to lock 20 of them to have a standing army of 100,000, that basically just leaves me with 5 points open to perform tasks, which is very minimal. But I'll have a hell of an army, which leans into the guilds and the guilds and armies mechanics. Let's see, resources 1 each. Franchises, yeah, you can create additional franchises through the recruit command. You can have a standing army. Oracle grants you legend lore or commune spell every week. Let's go through and look for language real quick. This is settlement stuff. Let's skip that for now. Material storage. Maximum army. Wealthy, comfortable. Adequate, average. I keep forgetting the name. Reopen that tab. Modest. Minimum lifestyle. Requires a minimum lifestyle. Not because like we're gonna have like a 100,000 Sardaukar terror troops are gonna live like kings. That's not the point. It means that you're investing enough money into sustaining your organization that you're effectively spending a wealth level of aristocratic. Wealthy. Comfortable. Modest. Poor. You maintain your own fighting force of CR 1/2 soldiers loyal to the Bastion. You can maintain this multiple times, increasing the total army proportionately. You must maintain a minimum level lifestyle to retain your army as listed for each rank. These soldiers there. I guess it would make sense that you would have them live like kings to be able to justify having that large of an army loyal to your Bastion. So that actually is self-referential and relevant. So the Bastion provides the lifestyle equivalent for everyone. If you're going to have a standing army, you need to be wealthy, 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 which is what your lifestyle indicates. Good. I'm good with that. Let's see. Where else do we need to hack through stuff in the moment? These all... There we go. By 1 degree. Year to season. Season to week. Week to day. 1 day to 1 hour. Expand the yield of harvest order by 10. Reduce 1 research. So we still need to figure out what harvesting is. So that may or may not be a nonsense statement when we get through this. NPCs, resources. I don't think I'm seeing any other references to days. There we go. Your Bastion spends 1 week making a Bastion check. That's just gathering information in general. There you go. If the information being gathered is about a specific creature, if the result is less than its intelligence or wisdom score, whichever is higher, the subject becomes aware of your order. If the subject of the order is a location or object, creatures that have orders to protect the subject become aware of your order, of your gathering, and respond based on their attitude towards the Bastion. If they're friendly towards the Bastion, you can actually ask them a question and they'll answer it for you. If they're neutral, there is no response, but you create 1 complication. You have a complication. You have a complication, and the creatures attempt to sabotage your Bastion. You have a complication. And you can ask 1. Okay, yeah, you just have a complication. You have a complication. That to help the target yeah. So complication, again, is a task that your team can perform as an adventure to resolve the issue. You're going to succeed, and depending on the DC that you have is going to be how many questions you can have answered about the subject that you're interested in, that you're gathering information about. Like, tell me about this warehouse. Like, how many guards does it have? What's its cycle like? Like, when is it slowest or most busy? What kind of traps and security does it have? Those are 3 questions there. What do we know is inside of it? That'd be a 4th question. So when you make the die roll, you're automatically going to be able to have some questions answered. But again, if the DC that you roll is lower than the intelligence or wisdom of the people that would become aware of you asking these questions, that creates the complication. So it's a challenge, kind of like hiding. That you have to roll a certain number. Like in hiding, you have to roll at least a 15, but then you also have to beat the passive perception check of the target that you're attempting to hide from for it to not notice you. You can use that mechanic in so many different ways in the 5e24 game engine. It's really, really cool. And this is just one of those examples. But that was a week. Your Bastion spends 1 week making a Bastion check to learn 1 piece of information about a specific location, object, or historical event. If your character takes the study action to research the information yourself at your Bastion, at the 3rd level, at the end of the time studied, add a Bastion die roll to the results of your ability check. You can repeat this order. The new result represents additional information researched about the subject. Let's just tack on. Let's just do it this way. To learn information about a specific location, object, or historical event. The character takes a study action to research the information yourself at your Bastion. At the end of the time studied, add a Bastion die to the result of your ability check. You can repeat this order. The new result represents additional information researched about the subject. You can, at the end of the time, at the end of this research, you can ask a number of questions equal to the result of the die, result of the check. DC questions. Let's be cheeky and go with our 5, 10, 15, 37 method. 35. 1 questions, 2 questions, 3 questions, 4 questions, 5 questions, 6 questions, 7 questions. It's a pretty linear progression. And you can repeat this order. The new result represents additional information research about the subject. If you can repeat this order if the result is higher than your previous result. You can ask a number of additional questions equal to the difference minimum of 1. So a 17th level character that does the research themselves, if, like, say they're a bard and they're specialized with expertise, they'll have a d20, so you could cap at 20, plus expertise is 12 to 32, plus your intelligence modifier, which could be, like, say, a +5. So that takes it to 37, and then you have bardic inspiration with a d12. That takes it to 49. And then if you have your Bastion invest that 5 ranks of resources to help you, you get 12 on top of it. That then becomes 61. So you could roll, potentially, if your character's involved and does everything perfectly, you could get up to a 61. Which means that if you exceed a die roll of 35, if you get the 35, you've already gotten the 7 questions out of that. But every time you roll above 35, you continue to ratchet up the DC to gain 1 additional piece of information. So if I got 35 originally for the 7, if I then get a 39, I get +1. If I then have to roll at least a 40 to get another one, that's 9 questions. Let's say I roll a 52. And now, obviously, my bard is now involved with this process every week as downtime activity. Pouring through, digging through, trying to find the most minute scrap of information that might open up more information to you. We rolled a 52. Then we get like to a 57 somehow. But we could have weeks and weeks and weeks spent in the 20s and 30s and 40s not able to break that barrier. At some point, you're just going to be like, that's enough. And you're going to let it go. Or if you really, really, really need to cap that out, once you get to 61, that's the absolute max that bard could ever possibly perform with the assistance of the Bastion. And that's the end of the road. There's simply no more information that's possible because you can't beat that die roll. So there you go. That's the idea. So I like how that sits now. That's better wording. That's better process. Let's see. The result, about 10. Bastion, maintain lifestyle. Cost, frequency. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got it. Maintain Bastion lifestyle. So you have to roll for the lifestyle. There it is. Okay. Let's see. Frequency. Let's go with year, season. So this is the frequency in which we have to make. We can make checks again. Let's go with day. Determines the lifestyle maintained for the Bastion. During the for the Bastion this week period. As well as the Bastion is overextended. If it fails 3 times, there you go. Okay, you can use the lifestyle you can use facilities below to sustain a lifestyle without having to check, without re-rolling each week. A new roll is required for the level. A new roll is required for the. You can use facilities below to sustain lifestyle without re-rolling each week. As detailed below. There. So that's what we're going to do. We can remove the frequency cap. Let's go back here. Erase that. Oops. Simplify. We're going to simplify how this works to set it up. This is on a weekly basis, but then we can go down to the diverse workforce, to the facilities. So we go down here to maintain, and this is simply maintain lifestyle. Very simple. Lifestyle. You can invest resources to sustain a lifestyle for your Bastion. You can invest resources to sustain a lifestyle for your Bastion to sustain the lifestyle of your Bastion for an extended period of time without having to re-roll, without having to check each week. The maximum time you can sustain this lifestyle without having to roll is listed for the level of lifestyle currently sustained. When this duration expires, you must roll on the life. You must issue the lifestyle order as detailed above. Which you can sustain. When the duration expires, the invested resources are recovered, and you must issue the lifestyle order as detailed above to re-establish your Bastion's current lifestyle. You must issue the lifestyle order again. There, that takes care of that. So if you roll really well, you can lock those points in and keep that lifestyle as an investment. At the end of that duration of frequency, those resources come back to your pool. You then make another lifestyle roll to see what level of lifestyle you're capable of maintaining, and then you could again lock that in. If it's an aristocratic lifestyle, you can lock it in for a year. The aristocratic lifestyle requires a DC of 30. So it is really, really difficult to maintain a high level lifestyle like that. That is going to make it difficult for you to have a standing army that is stable. So what do we do? How can we can sustain a lifestyle? Can we potentially permanently burn a lifestyle? Burn resources to sustain a lifestyle? Yes, we can, because, well, okay, there's the complication, because when we have a standing, so like if we have a Bastion with like 6 guys, and you have an aristocratic lifestyle for those 6 guys, that is vastly different wealth than what we would have to maintain for an aristocratic lifestyle to have a standing army of, like, say, 25,000 troops. So we have to have the aristocratic lifestyle to sustain the standing army. Maybe I need to be a little less severe on what the requirements are. Maybe we just need to we must maintain a comfortable lifestyle for our guild to have a standing army. It can't have poor or less. It has to be comfortable. No, a minimum of, let's say, maybe not comfortable, maybe just modest. Is modest lifestyle sufficient? To maintain your own fighting force, yeah, aristocratic is too heavy. So we can drop the lifestyle. We have to maintain a specific lifestyle. Let's make it modest. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to maintain an army. Ooh, yeah. That's what we can do. Yeah, lifestyle, totally relevant. We can just drop down the severity. Lifestyle. Yeah, poor is sufficient, but then you have to be modest at this level. There. That's much easier. Much easier to achieve. A comfortable lifestyle only is a DC 20. A 5th rank guild would have no difficulty sustaining a DC 20. Auction resources, sure. Maintain lifestyle. Comfortable lifestyle is only a DC 20. A 5th rank guild is going to have a D20 plus 5 plus 12. So you're going to have a minimum of 7. Assuming that you roll an average on your command die, which is a 6, that's going to take it to 13. You only have to roll a 7 or better on your D20. You can perform the lifestyle order multiple times, and each time you do, you get to re-roll the D20 and the command die and keep the best result of all the orders that you issue. You can like double down, triple down, as long as you have enough resources to spend to be able to issue that order over and over again. You can get a better roll, and as soon as you hit the better roll that you need, you could then lock that one in, and then you could invest the resources needed behind it to lock it in for a longer period of time. How long can you keep a comfortable lifestyle locked in? Let's double check that. I think it's a season, right? A comfortable lifestyle you can maintain for an entire season. So you only have to worry about if you're going to maintain a standing army, chances are you're going to be able to hold it on a seasonal basis. So every 3 months, or basically every 10 Bastion turns, you'll have to update that. That seems to be a fair frequency. God, I love this. It should depend on the size. Yeah. The size of the army. I agree. So I think this is a decent way of representing that. Specific facilities. Let's create some space here. Okay, we've been basically digging through and updating stuff as they logically come up for us to have to interact with. So DC should be based off the size of the army. Let's go look at recruiting again to see if that is a reasonable. Let's see. Maintain lifestyle. Oh, recruit. That's where it's at. Recruit, standing army. Rank 1. You maintain your own fighting force of CR 1/2 soldiers. Bastion. You must maintain a minimum level lifestyle to retain your army as listed for each rank. You can maintain this multiple times, comma, increasing the total army proportionately. So this is a facilities effect. So this is when you have proficiency with recruiting already. So you have to be proficient in recruiting for your Bastion to be able to have a standing army in the first place. It's a perk. So you can't have a 5th rank in a standing army until you're a 5th rank guild, Bastion, which means you're basically like a 17th level character, which means that you're going to be able to. I don't think it should require a check to sustain the standing army. I think I hear what you're saying is you should have a DC to recruit them in the first place. Like, how do you get them? I think that's what this means. So that would then be a recruit order. Orders are active things that you do, while facilities are passive things that you have. So I think we're establishing here that you can't. We already have to make a check to sustain the lifestyle, and if we don't have a sufficient lifestyle, we can't recruit the troops. They won't stick. It's like if I don't have a comfortable lifestyle for my Bastion, I cannot recruit 25,000 troops. So do we need to have a further, an additional check on top of that to be able to get your troops? Yeah, DC should be based off of the size. Yeah, I feel ya. I don't want to grind down too heavy into gold piece costs. I want to keep that liquid because the only way I don't want to do accounting. Like, I don't want us to have the ability to penny pinch and convert resources directly into, like, we can convert resources into gold, but only loosely. You can convert gold into resources, and the way that you would do that is through adventuring. But I can't. I don't want us to be able to use our Bastion to create a gold conversion that can then be invested into creating more resources. We do have a way of doing that, which is actually doing a Bastion check, a D20 check. And if you hit the target DC number for the rank of guild that you're at, you can gain 1 point of resources. You can also gain resources as treasure. Instead, like, you can get gold as a treasure, but you can also just be given a resource appropriate for the rank of your guild. So we can take gold gathered by your characters and purchase a resource one at a time, or we can perform adventures and get resources, maybe multiple points at a time. Or we can invest as a task that our Bastion is performing to gather an additional resource one at a time. So I don't want to have to worry about how much gold does my army cost me per day. Instead, it's what kind of a lifestyle do I need to maintain for my guild to be able to sustain that effect. Yeah, cost per captain. I don't know that. That seems like a question because of the question mark, but I don't know what it's asking. But hopefully that explanation I just gives resolves your inquiry. So we have the recruit action. Animals, minerals. This is where we're at right now. We're almost back into the minerals discussion. What time is it? Shit, it's 11:30. Okay, I've got about 20 minutes left for the day, and then I'm done. So this is going to take a while, but let's see if we can resolve. Before we walk away, let's see if we can resolve the recruiting issue. Commission specialists. You hire a specialist or high CR creature to perform a task. Beyond your guild's current abilities. Specialists are proficient in a number of orders equal to its rank. Creatures are specialists are proficient in a number of orders equal to its rank that can be issued orders while in your Bastion. Creatures are unique. C are creatures that obey your commands while in your Bastion. To use, it's to fight or use its abilities to benefit your Bastion. Or use its facilities to benefit your Bastion once per week. Beep. And creatures, beep. For example, you could recruit an angel to provide whatever spells are on that angel's list. It could use those spells once per week for you. That angel, if it's like a CR 13, you have to be at least 4th rank. DC 25 is the difficulty to recruit that rank of a creature. If you fail by 10, the creature attempts to sabotage you. If it's 9 or less, if the result is 9 or less, if the roll fails, a complication. All right, here's my last 20-minute burst. If the roll fails, if the roll fails, a complication prevents recruiting the target creature. Let's go with monster. There. Specialists are creatures proficient. Are creatures proficient in a number of orders equal to its rank that can be issued. You can issue one instead of your Bastion while the specialist remain in your Bastion. Monster are unique CR creatures. Are unique CR creatures that obey your commands while in your Bastion to fight or use its abilities to benefit your Bastion once per week. There we go. And sorry, Captain has X amount of troops and costs X amount. I don't think I want to go that direction. I don't want to have a specific cost for troops. I just want to have it be folded into the cost of main, because like if like so each of these, just to help clarify, facilities, you have to invest resources into them. Like it's like casting a spell that you're maintaining concentration on. So, and the rank of the facility, like the task that the facility is providing or the benefit that it gives to you, its rank equals the number of resources that you have to basically sustain or spend to sustain for that ability. So like if I have a standing army of 25,000 troops, I have to put 5 resources into doing so, and I have to be 5th rank to pull that. So at 5th rank, I can put 5 points of resources into that 25,000, and I can do it multiple times for however many points I have. So I could spend, but permanently lock, say, 20 resources to have a standing army of 100,000 troops. And I can cycle through, and I'll automatically be able to replace those troops while I sustain those resources. And we'll go further into that when we get into warfare. But the idea is that I have to have enough resources to be able to sustain that. And that is like 5 points is a huge investment for, like, you only need 25 resources to get the 5th rank. And each task that I perform a roll on is going to require 1 or more points. Like if I want to roll a D12 as part of my ability check to be able to maintain my lifestyle, I have to spend 5 points to make that D12 roll. If I want to roll that D12 twice to try to get the better result, I have to spend 10 points. So there's a fuck ton of points that on resources I can spend to be able to perform any of this stuff. And for me to have those 25,000 troops, that also has to be 5. That cost, the cost of maintaining the troops is subsumed into the cost of how many resources do I have to spend. And it ratchets up. So like at the 4th tier, I can only get like 1,600 troops, I think. It's 1,600 troops at 4th rank. Which is pretty modest. I might want to end up ratchet these numbers up. Maybe 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. If I were to look at this from the day, week, season, and year perspective, that would translate into like, it'd be 10, and then it would be 100, and I can't have 100 again, so maybe 1,000. That makes sense. I'm sorry. Let's reapproach this real quick. We have 1 day. We have 1 week. We have a season. We have a year. and then we have X. So a day is 1, a week is 10, a season is effectively 100, a year is effectively 400, and then X would be 4,000. So if we were to translate into people, that would be 10, 100, 1,000, 4,000. Oh, and then maybe this goes to 1,000. So then this goes to 10,000. That feels a little bit more fair. Yeah, they're all CR1 half troops. If there's commanders and captains and stuff like that, then we can dive into creating squadrons, platoons, and legions on top of that with scaling CR leaders. But yeah, this is just assuming a baseline, just CR1 half, just typical generic soldier. This feels like better numbers. So let's do this. Yeah, 10, 100. One, 10. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, these numbers are, yeah, this is tracking. This feels right. That 10,000. Okay, so this is where like you would have to pull in from other nations allying together to be able to create that super army. So a 10,000 cap each. That feels. Let's look at for comparison. What size standing army is in Waterdeep? The exact size of the city guard was a secret only known to the lords of the Waterdeep, but it was thought to be around 1,200 strong. In times of war, it could enlist mercenaries and grow its contingent up to 12,000 members. Bam! So when Waterdeep, a 5th rank Bastion, wants to form a large army, it can invest 5 points to create a standing army of about 10,000 troops. And what do we have now? Fucking 10,000 troops. Holy shit. That is fucking awesome. That is awesome. And the spending of those resources automatically the 5 resources, which are effectively worth 1 million gold apiece. 5 of them is effectively 5 million gold that you're investing to make sure that an entire army of 10,000 troops has a comfortable lifestyle, has the housing that they need, the infrastructure to back them up, and for you to be able to basically mobilize and make use of them perpetually, or at least for a year, for a season. You can maintain them for at least a season. How much gold is required to... Let's go with D&D. How much gold is required to maintain an army of 10,000 soldiers? I doubt I'm going to get a fast answer for this. I was just checking to see if I could somehow get somebody to spit it out. Let's see if this says anything real quick. Big shout out to Vaults of Pandias. Cheers, man. Mistar rules. I'm a big Hollow Earth fan. Or Hollow World, which was in the Mystara campaign. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get an easy translation out of this. It's a lot of text. See, this is what I didn't want to do. This was the level of complexity that I had in the original Guild and Kingdom system. And as you can tell, it's too fucking much. I mean, I love you. This is what first and second edition was all about, was intimate details, grinding down through percentiles. And I admire where this is at. I've done this sort of work. It's not where I want to go for the Bastion campaigns. So I think we have the level of complexity that I want. God damn. I didn't do anything that I wanted to do. Like this wasn't what I planned to do today. But everything that we've done today is really helping make this whole thing better. When we started this intent, we were looking at crafting, harvesting, and empowering, having overlapping, and what they produce, while we were looking down here at harvest and trade, and being overlapping in how they gain. And what we had done initially, getting back to the start of this, and we're at 10 minutes left in our day. Actually, I can. It's only 11:40 here, so I actually have another. It's 11. Yeah, it's 11:40 here, so I got another 20 minutes ish. Let's milk it. What we had gotten to initially, let's get back up into tasks or into orders, out of facilities into orders. Waiting, looking for it. Here we go. Harvesting and trade. Harvesting, we had basically surmised that anything that you would possibly build or create in the game requires one of 4 types of materials to be able to craft or build from, right? And those materials are plant, animal, mineral, and mana or magic. We were originally looking at, like, you would have a storehouse where you could hold these resources available for you to make use of at will, for you to be able to craft or trade with. You would trade to gather resources. You could trading are resources that you get from an external source. Harvesting are materials that you get from within your bastion. So harvest is stuff that you can control. Trade is stuff you don't control that you can trade into. That's basically the difference between the two. When we were looking at what can you build, we were basically looking at what kind of materials do you need. If you're making magic items, you need mana, or basically a magical resource of some sort to be able to empower, because creating magic items use the empowered order. So you have to have mana to be able to empower things. And you can either already have the objects that you want to empower, or you can build them while you're empowering them. And that would require crafting or harvesting. Crafting generally is inanimate objects made out of inorganic material, while harvesting generally refers to creating things from organic material. There is a gray zone there, like leather, for example. Leather armor is crafting. While like making brewing a healing herbs would be harvesting material. Like if I wanted to make like basilisk poison, for instance, that petrifies people when they get stabbed, that would fall generally, with the Bastion rules, that would generally fall into the harvest rules. Harvesting generally is poison and potions. While crafting is like armor, weapons, devices, things that don't. I guess it's the difference between consumable and equipable, right? You either use an object or you consume an object. So harvesting stuff is for things that can be consumed, while crafting is for things that can be worn or utilized. Scrolls is the vagary in between those things, because scrolls are consumed. Oh yeah, but you have to use the empower action to create them. So poisons can be harvested. Potions can be the materials for potions can be harvested. But potions are empowered action, or the empowered order, because they are infusing something with magic, even if regardless of what the material is. So what I'm really debating underneath all of this is, do I need to have a difference between mana, mineral, animal, and plant. Like, do I need to have four degrees of separation in type of materials needed to craft, empower, or harvest things? And I'm thinking no. Mana as a resource I like. But you don't trade and you don't harvest mana. Mana is empowered. So we can drop mana as a resource because you have to have access to empowered. Like if I'm going to create magic items, I have to have the resource, so I don't need to store mana. So we can drop that from trade and harvesting. Mana, we already know now is an aspect of empowerment, and if I don't have the empowerment as a proficiency of my Bastion, I could recruit a specialist who does have empowerment that then brings the magic with them. So that's how that works. So trade, I want to drop, acquire materials. Once trade is established, you can use your facilities below to maintain the relationship and have immediate access to the materials used when issuing the craft order. If the Bastion, when issuing the craft, harvest, or empower order to create items. If the Bastion check fails, there's a complication that delays rolling again for the listed duration. So that might take care of trade. Risky investment, you can gamble to gain more resources. And then you have facilities. Is facilities mentioning materials anywhere? Let's see if that's the case. It shouldn't. Good, it doesn't. Okay, cool. So that's straight. Trade gets materials that you need. And then harvest gathers materials from within your Bastion or under land or whatever controlled by your Bastion. H is for harvest. Plants, animals, minerals. Harvesting is just gathering items from a source. Craft. Well, see, that's the trick. If we go and look at the Bastion system that we're hinging all of this off of, it's not, or it kind of is. Here, let's differentiate here. I think we have here. Well, actually, let's go to here. A greenhouse. A greenhouse has the harvesting order. So a greenhouse is an enclosure where rare plants and fungi are nurtured in a controlled environment, in a controlled climate. Fruit of Restoration. One plant in your greenhouse has 3 magical fruit growing on it. Any creature that eats one of these fruits gains the benefit of a lesser restoration spell. Fruits that aren't eaten within 24 hours of being picked are destroyed. Harvest option. When you issue the harvest order to this facility, choose one of the following options. Healing herbs. You can create potions of healing. Poison. You can create poisons. So these are things that might require an ability check, that we would require an ability check to produce, but you'd be able to produce more than like one, or you'd be able to produce more than one batch or whatever. It would be it would basically be scaling intensity and content and total inventory that you're able to produce. But with the way that the Bastion system works right now, you just say, hey, I just want restoration fruit, I want healing herbs, I want poison, and then at the end of the week, you automatically get them. There's no check involved with it. That's considered harvesting. But we also have a garden. So a Bastion can have more than one garden. Each time you add a garden to your Bastion, choose its type from the options below. And here's the type of gardens you can have. Decorative allows you to produce perfume and candles. Food lets you produce rations. Herbs lets you produce potions of healing. And then poison lets you create batches of poison. So this garden is basically duplicating the effects of what the greenhouse does, except that the greenhouse can do different type of, like this is a greater healing potion inside of the greenhouse, which is a level 9 bastion, as opposed to a garden, which is a level 5 bastion, which lets you produce, where was it? 7 days. You can harvest, oh, that's right, down here. Herbs lets you make a basic potion of healing, not a greater potion of healing, and a more simple poison as opposed to a more complicated poison. So this is a lower rank, this is a second rank facility as opposed to the greenhouse, which is a third rank facility. See, level 9 is equal to third rank, level 5 is equal to second rank, first rank is equal to level 1. So the greenhouse and the garden basically provide similar harvest creating magic items, but with our system, you wouldn't be creating magic items with a harvest action, you would be using the empower action to create those potions. But you would be able to use crafting or harvest as an action to manufacture poison or rations. You see, that's the... No, you're not throwing me off. This is exactly where we're at right now. The question that I'm dealing with right now is when I use the harvest action to gather resources for me to be able to empower magic, like I'm going to create all these herbs from my garden, I'm now going to use the empower action to turn them into potions. But if I don't have the empower action and I can't create potions, what purpose does the harvest action hold for me? Currently, it's about gathering resources that are under my bastion's control. And I think what I want to do is, we're currently looking at distinguishing plants, animals, and minerals. So what does that mean? Fields or gardens, pastures or, basically pastures, what would be the other word? It'd basically be pastures for animals, roughly like cows and goats and stuff like that. Pastures is probably appropriate for that. And then there's minerals, which would be like a mining operation. Harvesting could also be like a fish, like a fishery, like on in an ocean that you control or a stretch of river that you control. And like a complication there could be like somebody dams up your river, so now your fish supply is blocked off. You need to go deal with that dam. Crazy beavers. But so we're currently looking at these harvesting materials broken between plants, animals, and minerals. And I'm wondering if it's appropriate for us to keep that degree of separation, or should I make it something more ambiguous of just material? You gather material. So like if I'm going to make armor, right? We need straps and buckles and padding, and that padding, straps, and buckles inside, like say that metal armor or leather armor is going to require animal goods. The padding might require plant materials like cotton, for instance, and then minerals for the iron needed to form the hard points on the armor. So it needs all three of those types of material. Do I need to separate harvesting between those three types of materials? I'm getting indication that the answer is yes. But I'm also concerned about the degree of, like, the level of complexity that gets created by separating between those three materials. Three materials isn't too complicated because, again, we took mana away as a resource and we just simply added that in as empowerment. If you have the ability to create magic items, that means that the hirelings inside of that empowerment order are capable of wielding magic as a resource. So that takes care of that. So the question then is, like, what degree of separation in the empowerment action do I want to separate between making magic items? There's potions, there's scrolls, and then there's like armor, weapons, miscellaneous magic items. There's a lot of degrees of separation inside of what magic items are, but they're all handled by the empower action, the empower command order. So do I have different orders that you would spend on specific magic items, because once you're proficient with an order, you can perform any of the orders inside of what empowerment is. So technically, I would be creating like potions separately from magic items. So yeah, there should be a degree of there should be different orders for each type of magic item. Each type of magic item can require a mix of different type of materials on top of the mana required to expend. So I'm thinking 3 different types of material isn't unreasonable. If I'm going to have like 5 different type of crafting checks or like empowered checks to be able to make different equipment and stuff, it makes sense. Like I have Tools of War as a crafting action currently. Let's go look at that craft. Tools of War. It requires materials. Requires material. But we're not currently like simple weapons, light armor, shield. That would require all 3 types of material. Martial weapons, medium armor. Actually, light armor and shields, like it could be a wooden shield. So like maybe simple weapons, those spears and yeah, this requires all 3 types of materials. Martial weapons, these all require all types of materials. And as you scale up, obviously you can see that there's higher degrees of difficulty that go along with creating more and more complicated tools of war. But we've siloed all of those tools of war into one crafting check. We could have a crafting check like craft trade tools. You can create tools as listed in PHB tool stuff for creatures to use to craft things. It's like this could requires materials, trade tools. That makes sense. So if I don't have the tools, like how far down this rabbit hole am I going to dive with these ideas? And I have to stop at some point. Otherwise, it becomes that website page worth of text, like ridiculous levels of complexity. So far, this is all really simple, like very, very simple steps that you can take, but I don't want to get too deep. So, tier level supplies, sorry. No, this is all great. Tier level supplies. Yeah, exactly. The higher rank the higher rank you are at harvesting or trading, the larger amount and more exotic material you can procure to create, to either craft or empower items. So magic items we all know are going to be empowerment. Crafting is going to be for mundane items that you're building. But like if I'm making rations, am I crafting rations? I'm not empowering rations. Tools of war, craft. Like I could go into like crafting trade goods. Like if I want to perform the trade skill to gather resources, I now have to craft those things first, right? It's like degree after degree after. It's like a cascading order of acquiring things. Like I need trade tools, sure, and I need materials to craft stuff also. But do I need to have a separate task spent to create trade tools, or can those tools just be subsumed with the materials needed to be able to craft what I want? That's where the warehouse down in the facilities comes in. So if we're looking at facilities, material storage. So the different ranks that we have, it gathers enough resources to perform trade tasks of the level that we want. So if we're only maintaining a rank 3 of material storage, if I have a fourth rank item I want to craft, my third rank facility doesn't have the materials needed to create this object. I now have to procure this rank of materials, and I can be ambiguous about it, but we also already have the trade roll up here. Acquire materials. So the rank of task that I want to perform determines the difficulty of gaining that content. Like if we have that 4th rank task, it's going to take a DC 25 for me to procure that material. And once I do, I can maintain it in my warehouse down below. But if I fail this die roll, I have a complication. And if I don't overcome the complication as an adventure, then I have to wait an entire season to make the roll again. And if I fail, there's the same or different complication still in place that's preventing me from being able to acquire those materials. If I leave the material vague like this, here's the challenge that we're currently facing. If all I have is an ambiguous title of materials, covers anything you could possibly need of animal, plant, or mineral materials to be able to produce things that you have, then all I have to do is maintain 1 degree of material, and anything I could possibly want, I already have access to because it's just a broad trade agreement. Or do I want to dive into a deeper level of separation and have this task required for each material, whether it's animal, mineral, or plant? And I've just hit noon, so that's my deadline. So I'm thinking we should actually have 3 degrees of material separation, but that's a lot of bulk that you're putting on to to maintain that trade facility. It takes 4 points you have to reserve to be able to maintain a facility. So if I have a separation between plants, plants, animals, and minerals, if I have those 3 degrees of separation, that means I have to maintain separate points for each material. 3 materials, 3 times the price. 4th rank, that's 12 points. A 4th rank guild has at most 24 resources before it becomes 5th rank. If I'm going to tie up 12 of those points just to have a warehouse with abundant enough material to craft anything at any time, is that something I want? Is that healthy for the game, or is that broken? And so do I just need to have facilities once at 4th rank to be able to sustain all of the resources, all the materials that I gather for 4th rank crafting or empowerment or harvesting, whatever? Harvesting is gathering resources. Trade is harvesting is internal, trading is external, but storage is internal. I'm thinking, but how do you differentiate between? Ooh. Okay, so if we did it like this, a storage facility can store a number of types of material equal to its rank. So a 1st rank storage facility can only store 1 type of material. A 2nd rank facility can store 2 types of material. A 3rd and higher rank storage facility can sustain all 3 types of material, and then you're just looking at what's the level of quality from there. So if I have a 2nd rank guild that wants to produce things that require multiple materials, I'm going to have my small little, that kind of puts a cap on, I'm too small of an operation to be producing martial weapons and heavy armor on the regular. It's too material intensive. I need to be a bigger guild. So that then requires us to separate what type of materials are needed. So maybe, so now I'm starting to look at separating materials in each item I craft into different materials. That's a different type of complexity that I'm not necessarily happy of, because currently a single craft check will let me build weapons, light armor, shields, but I'm not differentiating. I can only make shields, or I can only make light armor, or I can only make simple weapons. But maybe I do. Maybe I should be separating between these things. If I'm a 1st rank guild making armor, I honestly don't have the resources or the manpower to be able to create shields, while I'm also, that actually might be the solution. Having the 3 degrees of separation between materials, having you the ability to harvest each of them, maybe that's the degree of trade. Once you hit third and higher degree of trade, you can trade all 3 resources. But if it's a lower level of trade, I'm trading specific types of resources. Maybe that's the degree of difference. So once you get to a certain level, you don't care where it's coming from. You have all that shit. But like if it's harvesting, you always have to specify maybe that's the difference. Trade allows you to have a liquid resource material, and harvest is specific. So maybe we make harvesting a lower rank task that's easier to achieve, that can pull more resources easier at higher levels, while trade requires a higher degree of difficulty, but it can be any and every type of material that you need. That's where we're at. I'm not going to be okay. So here's my work week for the following. We're done for the day. So I'm going to come back on Monday morning. I stream 10 times per week. Monday through Friday in the morning, I stream artwork for the Eberron adventure that we're creating. Saturday, I have an open workbench like this. Monday, Tuesday, and Friday lunchtime, I stream design. Thursday night and Saturday morning, I stream design. This upcoming week is weird because instead my work week is juggled. So instead of me being able to design on Monday, I'm going to design on Wednesday. So I have Monday, I'll have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday this upcoming week to do design work during lunchtime. Thursday, yes. Saturday, yes, no problem. And then Monday through Friday morning artwork, yes. So when we come back to this, the next time I'm going to have an opportunity to come back to this is either going to be Tuesday lunch or Thursday night. My Tuesday, my 3 lunches, my Thursday night, and my Saturday morning, those 5 sessions, I can design anything that I want. I've got the color mana mechanics. I've got the martial power system. I've got Spelljammer subclasses, mecha, and kaiju, and I have the Bastion system. So I have the 4 different types of products that I'm producing right now that I can split across the 5 different games. And then on Monday night, we do martial power playtesting. So I think, so we'll be back Monday morning, and then I'll be do playtesting Monday night. So I'll be back Tuesday morning, then Tuesday lunch, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Wednesday lunch, Thursday morning, Thursday night, Friday morning, Friday lunch, Saturday stream like this. I'm not sure what we're going to be streaming on Tuesday, but I'm going to spend the rest of my day off stream here, and on my Sunday day of rest, I'll be working on Eberron stuff to prep up the next pages that we need to work on. But yeah, have them buy. Ooh, that might not be a bad idea. Do peasants for this like you did the army? They do all together. Yeah, basically. But the workforce needed to harvest is just like you have this floating. You have this ambiguous amount of hirelings that work for you. Based on the size of your bastion, and we have those numbers roughly parsed down here in settlements. Settlements has a maximum like it could be less, but like a maximum population for a rank 1 organization or bastion if it was a community, hamlet, village, town, city, and metropolis, up to 100, up to 1,000, up to 10,000, up to 100,000, and once you exceed 100,000, like Waterdeep, you're looking at a metropolis. So, but I mean, like this could be like 6. Like your number could be 6. So you like have one like little blacksmith shop. And of that blacksmith shop, it's inside this hamlet, and they have a small population. You can do first rank tasks. There you go. The region of size is going to be up to a mile. You can process up to 20 gold per week. So like if you bring back from a dungeon 500 gold, that's going to take roughly 500 divided by 20 is 25 weeks. So it's going to take you 25 weeks to process 500 gold out of a dungeon if all you have is a hamlet to process that gold in. If you went to a village, you could process all that gold in 3 weeks. If you go to a town, you could process 500 gold in a single week. So this is that downtime equals levels idea from first edition, where you have to spend a number of weeks in downtime equal to the level that your character is attaining, because that's how long it takes for you to throw your gold away because of the size of the community. So that's a factor. But yeah, this sets a hard cap on how many people like you can anticipate having in your organization or your community if you're using this Bastion campaign system. So So yeah, we have the number, like, and so if you have a first rank Bastion, it's assumed that you could have up to 100 people that you could maintain a lifestyle for as a result of the profits that you make from your Bastion, whether they're going out in fields or they're going out in the forest or they're mining or they're crafting or they're making trade deals or whatever. It's an ambiguous, like, vague number that could be anywhere up to 100. So we'll probably refine that further, but that's like a shop versus a settlement. Like a shop will probably be like up to 10. As opposed to a settlement would be up to 100. So you have that degree of difference. If I'm going to be harvesting cotton in fields, that kind of puts me into the community scale as opposed to a single shop. So that might actually be the answer for harvesting. Trade can be done by small operations, while harvesting requires a settlement. Maybe that's where the difference is. Maybe that you can't harvest materials unless you have a settlement to harvest it from. That might be the difference. Like, if I don't want to have a settlement with buildings and shit to worry about, I just want to have a blacksmith shop, then I have to use trade. If I want to use harvesting, I have to establish a settlement as my Bastion. Maybe that's the difference. And that's why you want a settlement, because harvesting materials is so much easier if you have the operations set up than establishing trade routes to have that material piped into if you don't. I think that's it. But I'm going to have to let that sit. We're going to have to let that stir, and basically we're going to let that simmer and cook on a back burner until we get back to it. I might, if I am passionate about it, I'll come back to it on Tuesday. Otherwise, I think we're going to be working on subclasses, Spelljammer subclasses on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll probably come back and do Bastions on Thursday night, and we'll come back and do Bastions on Saturday. And we'll be doing playtesting for the dungeon delving with the Martial Powers playtesting on Monday night. Monday through Friday, we'll be doing Eberron artwork. I think what'll happen is Tuesday and Wednesday lunchtime, we'll do Spelljammer subclasses, and then Thursday night and Saturday we'll do that. There's my week. There we go. And I think that harvesting. I want to put that bullet point in here real quick when we're looking at facilities. Trade, risky trade, gathering resources, acquire material. Harvest is actually where we need to put the notation. Harvest materials requires settlement. There we go. And we'll figure, and then that's how we'll integrate the settlements. Holy shit, I think that's going to work. We might have to do separate operation. We'll have to do separate orders for each type of material. And then if you're harvesting, you'll have to have land dedicated to each type of material harvested, mining, pastures, or fields. That's going to work. Okay, I'm going to let that simmer. I think by the time we get back to this on Thursday next week, I think it'll have enough burn time and back cycles in my dreams for us to be able to find the solution. So yeah, thanks a lot for hanging out, Steve, Dave, Omni, all you guys. Thanks a lot for chipping in and being a part of the conversation. Oh my God, and Theurgy, yeah, welcome to the team, guy. I'm here 10 times per week. If you think this shit's cool, again, this document's available for you guys to look at right now. In my playtest content. Let's go back over. No, wait. Where am I at? Here. This is where I'm at. Again, all this content. Thanks a lot, guys, for all the likes. All this stuff is available for you guys again here. The color mana system. Today we're working with the Bastion system. So that is Point Warlocks. Where is it? Discord. Full playlist is here. Oh, this is the wrong one. I'm in the wrong thing. Hold on. Let me wind my way back. Here we go. Here's our Bastion. This is the document that I'm using right now. There you go. So you can check all this stuff out. For you, it'll be read only. But once this book publishes on the DMs Guild, you'll also be able to read the entire thing as a free preview. So thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you guys on Monday morning. You have a great weekend. Cheers.